Alright, Geordie Prepper here. Welcome to another Prepper News Network video. Today is the 19th of Feb 2024. So Yemen's Houthis claim to have targeted a British ship. There's been reports that the ship has been abandoned and it's in risk of being sank. So it would seem that the damage was very significant. And the Houthis also claim to have shot down an MQ-9 Reaper drone, which is one of these drones here. It's been used for a long time. It's got its own weapon systems, used for surveillance, etc. And they claim to have shot one of these down as well. They said that their air defenses shot down the drone with a suitable missile. They always say that. Whenever they're talking about stuff that they've used, they always say a suitable system was used. It was shot down in the province of Hodeidah. The drone was downed while conducting hostile operations. So it was obviously doing a bit of surveillance, probably. The Houthis have been targeting cargo ships, obviously, in the Red Sea for quite a long time. This ship was actually in the Gulf of Aden, really close to the Bab al-Mandeb Strait, which is a very narrow strip of the Red Sea as you go into the Red Sea. So it was bordering on the Red Sea, Gulf of Aden, and that's where it got attacked. It doesn't really say whether it was going to Israel or someplace further up the Red Sea, or if it was coming out of the Red Sea, but yeah, the ship, from recent reports, is in a very bad state and could sink. US military experts are saying that they saw the first unmanned underwater vessel in the Red Sea. So they were conducting some strikes in a Houthi-controlled area of Yemen on Saturday, and they targeted an unmanned underwater vessel too. It's the first time that they've seen one in the Red Sea region. The Houthis, of course, have said that they've got these underwater unmanned drones, and they intend to, and they've threatened to use them on underwater cables. So communication cables, internet cables. And if they were to cut these cables, it could mean a significant disruption to financial systems, internet, which is run into Asia and many other countries. These cables run past this area and through the Red Sea. So it would be very easy if they've got an adequate system to do it. Then they could obviously cut these cables, cause a huge headache for the world if they were to do that. The main offensive on Rafah hasn't started yet, but Israel PM has basically vowed to finish the job. Hostages which the Hamas have got. Basically, Israel said, if they're not back by this date, then we're going to continue the offensive, which means going full scale into Rafah. There's a lot more calls from the international community to support an independent Palestinian state as part of a future peace agreement. It would probably entail using even less land than what the old Gaza Strip had. Basically, Israel's just said that they want total victory over Hamas, so that includes no Palestinian state. On the Rafah offensive, the Palestinian civilians will be evacuated, and where they go will just be in a devastated Gaza. So they would go somewhere in Gaza, but I mean, Gaza's just a wasteland now. It's just completely destroyed. Basically, Rafah's going to be the last big offensive. It just depends on when Israel says that the job's done. When it ends, basically. Obviously, mainstream media is obsessed with this Alexei Navalny dying. But we have to be very careful. Obviously, if you're listening to this, you probably know what all this is. The unemotional wife is basically being up in front of, on the world stage, in front of all these leaders at the time when he died. Very unemotional. She's basically vowed to take his place. You know what this is, guys. I mean, shouldn't have to really spell it out, but we've got to be really careful of the unrest that they're trying to stir up from this event, especially if you're in Russia. You want to be basically just prepping hard for any sort of disruption to services. Ukrainian Air Force is claiming some victory in the sky recently, and I think they're going to be talking about the victories quite a lot with the fall of Avdiivka recently. So Lieutenant General Nikolai Oleshchuk, commander of the Air Forces, has claimed a big success with an Su-34 fighter bomber and a Su-35S fighter destroyed. He's basically said, this is our land and our sky. Russia hasn't said anything on these two planes. One of them could have been a large UAV. They might not have actually destroyed both the planes or any of them. They're saying that there was some pretty experienced observers on the ground that saw the planes drop out the sky. So with the recent losses that they've had, and Russia's basically chasing them out of every area at the minute on the front, they're going to be beating their chest on every victory that they do have. So Avdiivka's been lost. It was a very strategic area. This coke plant here was the site of a lot of battles. It's obviously got significant damage to it, but you know, it can be fixed. We've seen the videos of them hot on the heels of the Ukrainian troops running away. From the videos I've seen, there doesn't seem to have been a very good logistics system in place. There wasn't any armoured vehicles or anything to transport the troops out of the area, so it didn't seem to be a very organised retreat. You know, I think we know why. It's, you know, the Ukrainians are just suffering massive losses. I think at this point, effectively the war's over for Ukraine. I don't think it'll be very much longer before they're defeated, to be honest, from everything I've seen. Possibly because of the Avdiivka loss, basically Denmark's came out and said that it's donating its entire artillery, including all of its ammunition. Countries and the players that have been supporting the Ukraine, they've been quite reluctant with the supplying of military gear. They've been dripping it in at a time, you know, just keeping the Russians just at bay enough with what they've been giving them. So for Denmark to come out like this and just say, oh, look, you're getting the entire... I mean, it might just be a few guns and a shed load of ammunition, or it might be a lot of guns. Could spur on some other countries to donate a much higher volume of material to Ukraine, but it seems that the timing is rather linked to Avdiivka falling. And of course, we've got to remember that the Steadfast Defender is still going on, so is that going to push them to moving these troops into the Ukraine? Is this the thing that puts NATO troops in the Ukraine? We've got to keep a real close eye on this one, guys. So Trump was hit with a massive fraud ruling. People just aren't happy. His supporters aren't happy. And particularly truckers. Truckers in the United States are absolutely critical for its infrastructure and supplies. They're saying that they're going to boycott New York. I mean, man, if this does actually happen, you guys don't want to be in New York. If anyone's listening and you're in New York and you start seeing stuff in short supply, I mean, you might just want to head to a relative's for a bit, because there's no way I'd want to be in New York. If things start running out, it'll be absolute freaking chaos. Everything's on a just-in-time system now, guys. I mean, there's absolutely no warehouses. There's no large stock room in the backs of stores anymore. The system says, right, we need this, and then it gets delivered, but it's like just in time, you know. It's as things are running out, it gets resupplied. So it's an incredibly fragile system. And there was a female trucker, and she was basically saying, like, if even 10% of the supplies don't get delivered to New York, the truckers just start, you know, taking other jobs elsewhere in the country. Then even that 10% reduction, things run out. People start to bump up the price. I mean, man, it'd just be absolute pandemonium in New York. Violence go through the roof. We'd see theft, and obviously there would be protests. I mean, I would just get out of New York, to be honest, if I was you. And even the smallest sign that this is actually going to happen with the truckers, just get the hell out of there, man. That's the end of today's Prepper News. Thanks very much for watching. Be safe, be prepared, and I'll see you in the next broadcast. This has been Geordie Prepper, signing out.